podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, JD.
What's going on, guys? This is JD, and this is episode 119 of the Russell Brad podcast. So, can we just say that right now it is a great time to be a fan, whether you like WWE or AEW or Impact or New Japan or whatever? It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. We got the Olympics going on finally. I'm a big Olympics fan. Go Team USA, of course. But I always love the stories of other countries and stuff like that, especially the countries that win gold for the first time. Always love listening to that. So I've been trying to check out as much as the Olympics as I can. But, however, enough about the Olympics. Let's get into all these news and rumors that's going on. Of course, we are talking about the possible signing of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan to WWE. Now, it's not exactly confirmed. It's not exactly confirmed. Okay? Everybody calm down. It's not exactly confirmed. I mean, not WWE, AEW. uh, it's too much going on. So the possible sign of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan to AEW, excuse me, not to WWE. Um, all of wrestling fans is going crazy. First of all, a bit of a rant. Okay, let's get started with that. Um, to all those hardcore WWE fans who have been saying the craziest things on Twitter, I've seen people say that WWE needs to wipe away Daniel Bryan from the network and this and that and all that WWE have done for Daniel Bryan. How could he turn his back and stuff like that? And it's like, guys, if you are a true fan of Daniel Bryan, if you was one of those people that was rah 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 and doing the yes movement 7 years ago, you should be happy for him right now, because he's doing what he wants. He let his contract expire. He didn't go out and say, I'm done. I want to leave WWE or anything like that. From what I remember, and from what I've read, his biggest thing is that he wanted to wrestle other people in other promotions. He wanted to open up, have different feuds and storylines and things like that. It's his career, it's his life. Let's just all be a fan and support him in his decision. Um, and I just couldn't believe of the people who sat there and said, after all WWE has done for him and this, that, and the third, and he should be wiped away and stuff like that. And it's like, a lot of people have short term memory, or they probably weren't wrestling fans 7 years ago. But I definitely remember how the Yes Movement came about. Daniel Bryan was not picked number one or picked number 10 for WWE management. When he wasn't supposed to even be at WrestleMania 30. He was supposed to, I think he was supposed to go against Kevin Owens or something like that at that point. It was supposed to have been Randy Orton versus Batista. Batista came back, into the Royal Rumble. He won the Royal Rumble. He was supposed to be at WrestleMania. I think he was even supposed to win the title at that point. However, there was so many fans who were such big Daniel Bryan fans, and they just wouldn't shut the hell up about it. It was the chants, it was the Yes Movement and stuff like that. And WWE had no choice but to add him to WrestleMania 30. That's why they did the whole him versus Triple H situation. And then, for him to be into the main event, he had to defeat Triple H, and then it became a triple threat. A lot of people kind of don't remember that and how he was the B plus player and stuff like that. So it's he was in there because of the fans, and so I'm happy for him. He'll definitely be able now to wrestle with a lot of different people. He'll be able to do into a lot of interesting feuds. Something that we haven't seen. I mean, the last time we seen Daniel Bryan, he was on the bottom of the 3-man stack at WrestleMania. So I don't get it. Another interesting one is CM Punk. Now, I'll get into AEW Dynamite a little bit later, but if they didn't sign him, this is going to be like the one of the biggest teas in wrestling history. From all these hints that they were dropping at Dynamite. Now I'm happy for CM Punk as well. He didn't want to wrestle, but he kind of, but when you're passionate about something, it's always going to call your name. So with him possibly coming back, I think it'll be great. I just hope that he has been training this whole time. It'll be the worst thing for everyone to be so hyped of him coming back. This is the biggest hype and stuff like that, the biggest return as of late and everything, and he's not that good in the ring. Like, I really hope he's been training hard as hell for these past couple years. So, but that was my rant about the Dan Bryan fans. Like, you can't consider yourself a Dan Bryan fan if you're gonna sit there and hate on the fact that he signed to AEW. Cause let's all be clear. If Sammy Guevara signs to WWE tomorrow, all those fans that hates him because he's in AEW will suddenly buy his T-shirts the next day. So let's just stop. Let's just all just be wrestling fans and just enjoy the ride. Let's just enjoy the carnival that's going on, the shows and everything like that, because it makes life even more interesting. Another piece of news that's going on, it came out that Tiffany Haddish is going to host a SummerSlam after party. Now, I think a few people may have read that wrong and thought maybe she was hosting SummerSlam or something like that. But it seems like it has nothing to do with the actual show, and it's not something that we're going to actually be watching. So, from what I've read, this is an exclusive invite-only event that will feature WWE superstars, celebrity guests. WWE will be making a contribution to her foundation called She Ready Foundation, which is used to help a better life for children living under the foster care system. So this sounds like this isn't going to be anything on TV or anything like that. It just seems like she's hosting an after party. That's it. They may put that on the WW on Peacock or on YouTube or something like that. So everybody calm down, because people were getting all wrapped up about that, saying, well, Tiffany Haddish has nothing to do with WWE and this, that, and the third. Like, no, WWE's making moves. Okay, WWE's now trying to enter back into mainstream and get more casual fans on top of that. Now this is another rumor. I don't know how confirmed this is. This is according to Matt Men's Andrew Zarian, I think the last name is pronounced. So there's this big rumor that there's going to be a Queen of the Ring tournament, which I'm excited about. I love the King of the Ring tournament. That's kind of that was the starting point of Austin 316. That's where the whole promo had started. The King of the Ring led to Owen Hart as well, King of the Hearts and stuff like that. Bret Hart was the King of the Ring, and it generated a lot of wrestlers back in the day. And it was people considered it as one of the biggest pay-per-views along with the Big Four. People used to say it was the Big Five if you included King of the Ring. So I'm happy that we're getting the Queen of the Ring, stuff like that. I mean, I kind of figured maybe Charlotte's going to win the first one because, it is what it is. But the biggest rumor with this is that the finals of this Queen of the Ring tournament is going to take place at the October 21st Saudi Arabia show, which, that's kind of a bit of a slap to the fans. I know WWE is in this 10-year thing with Saudi Arabia, and there's this like drive to kind of make change. Gonna say something a little kind of controversial, but I feel like they're doing this to satisfy the stockholders who are a bit worried that WWE has entered this partnership with this country. I'm like surprised, but I'm not surprised if this rumor is true that they're gonna do this. I feel like it kind of robs a lot of the fans, especially in the U.S., who has been, having to deal with the way that the women have been treated for so long, and for us to finally get a Queen of the Ring tournament and for it to possibly not even be done in front of American fans kind of feels like a slap in the face. But like I said, this is a rumor. I don't know how confirmed it is, but just figured I would just throw that out there. Another piece of news, and this actually came out today, and that was Vince McMahon had did a call for with stockholders and everything like that, and he made comments about AEW. He has said it's certainly not a situation where it's rising tides because Ted Turner was coming after us with all of Time Warner assets as well. It was a different situation. AEW is where they are. I don't really know what their plans are. All I know is what our plans are. I don't consider them competition in a way that I considered WCW back in the day. Not even near close to that. I'm not so sure what their investments are as far as their talent is concerned. Perhaps we can give them more. Whoa, excuse me. Okay. Especially that last line. Perhaps we can give them more. I mean, it is kind of what has been happening. WWE has been releasing a lot of people. AEW has picked up a few of those people, with Malachi Black and with Andrade. And, you know, I'm going to say this. I'm a fan of AEW and WWE. Let's start that off. There's no competition, really, when it comes to WWE. Sorry to say, but there's no competition with WWE. WWE has been around for a very, very long time. Whenever it's been a monopoly for a very long time too. I mean, AEW has came around within the past 3 years, and there's really no competing with that. WWE has reached overseas. They're in Saudi now with the 10-year deal and everything like that. They have hit mainstream whenever they're in a city. Their wrestlers is on the morning news and stuff like that with the interviews and things like that. So it's a lot more mainstream than what AEW is. And I said this before, the difference with who they market to. WWE always market to a casual crowd. Like, they don't expect you to know anything about NXT. They expect you to really know about Raw and Smackdown. They don't expect you to know where this person came from, only what they put in front of you. That's why, whenever fans come up in a roar about wanting this person or that person, it rarely happens. We get these special moments with Kofi Mania and Becky Lynch and Daniel Bryan. But fans have been asking for Cesaro to be on top of the hill for so long, Naomi on top of the hill for so long, and a lot of things. Even with the women's wrestling, they just suddenly, quote unquote, started this whole women's revolution in I think it was 2016. So WWE only caters to the casual crowd. AEW caters to the core wrestling audience. They expect you to watch Being the Elite. They expect you to watch Dark and Elevation, know all the wrestlers in New Japan, know the people who are in Impact, know the indie wrestling and stuff like that. So for people, I wouldn't say like me because I kind of know indie wrestling a little bit more. But for people who just turning into Dynamite just to watch Dynamite, they probably had no idea why is Hangman Page and the Dark Order are friends, or who's this guy that's challenging Lance Archer next week. So that's why I feel like there's not really that much of competition, because AEW is going to continue to grow and pull in a lot of the wrestling fans that are fans of different promotions, fans of New Japan, fans of Ring of Honor, Impact, even some of the fans from NXT, to be truthfully honest. But WWE fans, that's it. That was their bubble, and I can speak because that was me for a very, very long time. Back when with the Monday Night Wars, I was a WWE girl. I watched Raw, I watched SmackDown, I watched Sunday Night Heat, I watched all the pay-per-views, I watched all the documentaries, I will watch all the compilations of the wrestling matches and stuff like that. I used to make tapes. If people who know what a VCR is, I used to record matches of only Shawn Michaels or of only Taker, and I would make my own wrestling tapes. Okay. I knew of WCW. I watched a little bit of WCW. I knew Bash at the Beach and NWO and stuff like that. But every time I tuned in, I felt like I was betraying WWE. So I know what that bubble feels like. And once you open your eyes and realize there's a lot more to life than just everything that happens on a Monday or a Friday, it's a lot more entertaining. So I say all that to say, like, WWE is a giant. Now, I love AEW, that there are things that AEW brings to the table that WWE doesn't. And we've seen that with what we're seeing now with Andrade and Malachi Black. I mean, Andrade's like, it feels like he's like $1 million right now. Whereas though it just seems like WWE felt as though he was a mute or something like that. He rarely talked when he was in WWE, and now with AEW, he just sounds like chef's kiss. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of WWE, let's get into a little bit of Raw. Um, Raw, I don't catch Raw live anymore. Gotta admit, I will watch it if I'm like cooking or something like that, if I'm meal prepping, or if I'm like doing busy work and I have it on in the background, and I'll like peek in and stuff like that. So I kind of watched it live this week. But normally, if I don't catch it live, I'll watch it on Hulu or something like that, or catch it on YouTube or something. Um, so this week we started off with Nikki Ash coming out with a big pop. Big pop. There was a lot of chants. There was people chanting, "You deserve it." There were signs in the air, and you could tell she's like generally happy about winning the title. She's happy at where she's at, and it just feels like she's like that nervous excitement because she was coming out and she kind of like really didn't know what to do because she was high-fiving fans and stuff like that, and she went for hugs, stuff like, I love it. I'm very happy for her, okay, because a few episodes ago, if you had told me she would have defeated on paper Charlotte Flair for the title and won Money in the Bank and stuff like that, I wouldn't have believed you, because I thought there was a ceiling for her in that type of character, but apparently I am wrong, because as we should all know, the crowd for Raw is definitely not people like me, okay? Not that first hour, at least. No, but I am happy for her. She came out, she cut a promo, and everything like that. And then out comes Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair, you gotta admit, as much if you don't like Charlotte Flair like that, and she was getting some of the boos. She definitely was, but it was a lot more cheers than it was boos. But if you wasn't a fan of Charlotte Flair, you cannot resist how good she is as a heel and how good she is on the mic and everything like that. Like, it's just a shame because what Raw is missing right now, because they have a lot of good heels like Charlotte and stuff like that. They don't have the baby faces. So and that's why Becky Lynch has missed so much, because we had Becky Lynch to kind of counteract Charlotte Flair. How do I think Nikki will fare in Chicago? Now that's the real question, Devin. I was thinking that when I was listening to her do her promo on Monday, and I was like, sweetie, you got Chicago next week. Now that's going to be the true test. I'm very interested on what they're going to do. Like, I feel like next week when they're in Chicago, you're definitely going to hear some muting like they did back in the day. We all remember how they love to mute a crowd. I think they're going to mute that crowd because of what AEW had did. And they're going to Chicago too twice. And these little hints that they're dropping, I feel like Chicago's going to take over Raw. And I feel bad for every wrestler who has to come out and try to cut a promo against that. If they bring her out, if she's out there first to cut the opening promo, she's going to get drowned out. But I don't know how they're going to fare in Chicago. You probably would know, but I don't know how Chicago feels about Nikki Ash. I don't know if they're going to embrace the fact that, Nikki Cross have fought so long to at least have some part of the spotlight, and now she has the spotlight, but she's in this gimmick. So I don't know how Chicago's going to be, but I'm going to watch that live. I'm not going to tune into Hulu for that one. I'm going to watch that show live. But as we see, we got it's going to be her, Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley. So we're going to keep having that going over and over again. It's just crazy, and I always say this. It's just crazy how Raw and SmackDown feel like two different companies when it comes to the booking. Um, we're getting Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair for like the 20th time, except for this time they're inserting Nikki Ash, who I think will take the pinfall here. And whereas though we have on SmackDown, um, we have Roman Reigns who's going against Finn Balor. You know, what else happened on Raw? We had Karrion Kross versus Keith Lee. There was a rumor that Karrion Kross was actually supposed to lose again, but instead he won here. You know, I feel bad for Keith Lee. Well, I kind of figured was going to be what happened with Keith Lee once he got moved up to the main roster. But I still don't understand why we have the NXT champion on Raw. Um, like he's pulling double duty, and they've done that before, but I don't know. They're putting Karrion Kross in a very weird position because the casual crowd don't really know who he is. Like when he came out last week to face Jeff Hardy, the crowd was like dead. They had no idea who he was. They really didn't care who he was, um, and it's just like they're putting him in a very weird position. And I feel like I don't feel hopeful that something is going to happen. Anything good is going to happen, I should say, with this. Um, we also had Damian Priest going against Sheamus, which was a bit interesting. Um, Reginald, um, Reginald showing off his moves that we kind of been seeing a little bit here and there. He went against R-Truth to defend the 24/7 championship as well. That was pretty much all that I really saw with Raw. I did see Bobby Lashley going against Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander in a handicap match where he pulled what Roman Reigns did and stacked both of them on top of each other and pinned them both there. I'm just hoping that we continue this dominant Bobby Lashley all the way past SummerSlam. I just hope he runs through Goldberg. I really hope. Like we all know, this is only going to last 5 minutes or less, but I really hope Bobby Lashley is just like dominant with him. That Goldberg will be okay taking the fall this time. Like it'll be all good. I promise Goldberg. Just run off into the sunset. So let's go to the opposite end and let's go to SmackDown that happened last Friday. Um, I have to say, Roman Reigns is like, do I see Bobby versus Roman at Survivor Series? I do. I don't think they're gonna pull the trigger on Cena winning the title. I really hope they don't. Like I'm fine with Roman Reigns holding on to the title, even though a lot of fans don't like, people holding on to the title for a long time. But right now, the two champions are very dominant. They're very dominant, and I would love to see Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns, especially if you got MVP, basically MVP promo versus Paul Heyman promo. Okay. But yeah, I see Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns going to Survivor Series. Truthfully, I don't know. Like, I don't know who will take the title off of Roman Reigns right now. But he's holding up SmackDown on his back right now. So it would make zero sense for them to take the title off of Roman Reigns when he draws in the internet fans. They're on his side, but he's a great heel for people to boo at and stuff. But he was cheered a little bit. I wish they were in Chicago for SmackDown. I would love to hear that crowd with with Roman Reigns. It'll probably be people lined up throwing out flowers and stuff like that, like coming to America for him. um, but that promo with Roman Reigns, I clearly remember when Roman Reigns gave the Suffering Succotash promo so long ago. And look where we at now. He's sitting here like I had to listen to that promo twice because he sat there and said with John Cena he thought it was something different because Cena came from Hollywood. Maybe he had learned something like that. Um, but he says the same thing. It's the same intro, the same clothes, which he wore back to back. Let's speak about that. Same catchphrases, same insults. He was like, it was like missionary position every single night. And I popped for that line because I was like, whoa, like if you had told me 5 years ago that suffering succotash would have turned into it's like missionary position every night, I would have been like, that's not going to happen. But I definitely respect the progress of the tribal chief, that we went from Roman Reigns to the tribal chief. I respect that. I know Devin loves to hear that. I know Devin loves that line, but I respect the tribal chief. Like I love it when someone shows progress. That's why I'm a big fan for I'm a fan of Raquel because it's like from when she started to now, it's like 10 times better. I'm a fan of Bianca Belair because she came onto her own as far as her gimmick and everything like that. Um, but yeah, I'm a fan of someone who you could show that they're actually working hard. Speaking of Bianca Belair, they were at Rolling Loud on Friday, and they had two matches there. Um, he had two match. They had two matches there. They had first they had Angelo Dawkins and Chad Gable, which was there, and then out Bianca Belair to go against Carmella. Now, was the crowd interested in it? Not really. You've seen people reacting to the fact they were on camera, then to what was going on into the ring. Will there be some people that walk away from there and say, hey, Bianca Belair was pretty cool. I'm going to check that out a little bit more? Yeah. So kudos to WWE for trying something different. That they're trying to pull in more fans in unique ways. So kudos to them for that, for doing the Rolling Loud festival. I thought it was something. I thought it's weird, but if you're talking business wise, because that's the reason why they do all these type of things, to try to bring in more revenue and get more awareness of their product, then kudos to them about that. Um, we also had Edge versus Seth Rollins, a bit of a brawl too. Seth Rollins with the outfits. I'm waiting for him to drop a suit line or something like that. Like I think his suit game is a lot better than Steve Harvey right now. Um, he got into Edge face and he started laughing and stuff, like he did the infamous Rollins laugh, which I that kills me every single time. Edge comes out, of course. You cannot you cannot see Edge come out without screaming his theme at the top of his lungs or anything like that. Like I hope he's still around by the time SmackDown comes to Philly in the fall, is I would love to scream out his theme and possibly lose my voice when he comes out during that SmackDown. We also had Tony Storm versus Zelina Vega. It wasn't really the best matches, but it is what it is. I'm a fan of Tony Storm though. Seth out here Friday nights looking like a CrossFit Scarface. I love it. He does. He does. South Philly Psycho. He does. He like I don't know who has been showing him these suits or whatever. I don't know, like he obviously get them tailored, but I don't know where he's getting these suits or something like that. It's someone out there just like they see tie dye on red or something like that, and then they show it to him. He'd be like, I'll take that with no socks and shoes on. Like that's confidence right there. To have those type of suits that he has on and then have on the no socks with shoes, it's like top notch. But SmackDown was pretty good. And then at the end of Roman Reigns promo, he told Cena that the answer is no, which I was a little surprised about. I thought he would say yes because he just wanted to beat him down. But he said the answer is no. And then out comes Finn Balor. And then Finn Balor was like, if you don't want to face Cena, you can face me. And then he says, challenge accepted. So I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. I like what WWE tends to do is that whenever there's a feud, it's just like constantly over and over and over again, different matches. So like with AJ Styles and Omos versus the Viking Raiders, we'll get a 6-man tag. And then we'll get one on one, and then another one on one, and then one on one with one on one in a cage match or something like that, or one on one for Lumberjack. And so I like it when we get a feud, but take it different direction, stuff like that. So I like the fact that we're getting this feud between him and Cena, but he's saying no. But why, and we know it's coming, but while we're waiting for it, we're getting something to kind of entertain us with. Not give us the match for free like WWE tends to do a lot. But overall, SmackDown, of course, was a good show. SmackDown has always been a good show. Um, I don't know if it's the fact that it's the Friday, they have a little bit more time to think about things. Um, if there's obviously there's a whole other staff that's over there. Um, but love what they're doing over there. So, going into now, I did check a little. I watched a little bit of NXT, but I was doing something else, so I only saw a little bit. I saw that Samoa Joe had resigned as an NXT enforcer, which we knew what was going to happen, and now he's on the main roster. And so now, and he made the challenge. It's going to be him versus Karrion Kross at NXT Takeover 36 on August 22nd. Um, but it's not going to be special, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because Karrion Kross already lost to Jeff Hardy in 4 minutes on Raw. Had he not lost, had he not even been on Raw, him versus Samoa Joe would have been a lot more exciting. That's why I say I don't know if Triple H was arguing with Stephanie McMahon or something like that, and Vince decided to pull this, because I have no idea why we took the NXT champion who is undefeated onto Raw, where no one knows who he is, and then he lost in 4 minutes to Jeff Hardy, and then Jeff Hardy used the ropes for the pin, which is very unusual. It's not really, he's not a heel, so that's a heel type move. I don't know why they did that, but I feel as though they did that because if Triple H was arguing with Stephanie McMahon or something like that, that they pulled this. So when we finally get Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross, which will be very exciting, especially if Samoa Joe gives Karrion Kross the first loss and take the title, it's not going to feel special because Jeff Hardy is already in the books as the person who gave Karrion Kross his first loss. Um, I saw a little bit of Carmelo Haynes versus Josh Briggs. Carmelo, of course, had definitely showed promise and everything. I did catch the vignettes with Cameron Grimes and LA Knight. I mean, Cameron Grimes is just like, it had nuts in. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why we did that for Karrion Kross. And then he comes on the main roster again and defeats Keith Lee, and it's just like, well, it doesn't really do anything with your NXT champion because he just lost. I loved it when Rhea Ripley was NXT champion and they brought her up because of Survivor Series and everything. I was fine with that. Like, show. I mean, it's your product. I don't. That's the part I don't get. It's your own product. It's NXT is with WWE. Like, it's not AEW or anything like that. I don't get why they tend to disrespect their own roster. Um, but yeah, Cameron Grimes is just like, that's another person I'm happy with too, because I wasn't really sure with him before all this. I wasn't sure if he was like a crazy cowboy or something like that. Like, I really didn't get his gimmick. But now that we're doing this obnoxious country newly rich guy, it's just like it's so good for him. And then we saw what we knew was coming: Dakota Kai turning on Raquel Gonzalez, and she obviously were setting up that match. Just interesting on how they're going to do that type of booking, because they have booked Raquel Gonzalez to be so dominant, whereas though Dakota Kai has been having losses here and there. So I don't know how they're going to show. I don't know how they're going to make it convincing that Dakota Kai has that big of a shot against Raquel Gonzalez, unless they're going to play the angle of that, because they're tag team partners, they've been together for so long that Dakota Kai kind of knows her weaknesses, stuff like that. Um, but they've been showing Raquel Gonzalez to be so dominant. Like I don't know how they're gonna do the booking for that one. But I am interested to see that type of feud, especially if they're gonna pull the trigger and have Dakota Kai win the NXT Women's Championship. That's gonna open up a lot of other different feuds as well. The only issue is that the women's roster in NXT is getting a little smaller. Now that we have Shotzi and Tegan and Tony Storm up on the main roster, it's not a lot of women for to challenge Raquel Gonzalez, and it's convincing that they would take the title off of her, unless it's like Io Shirai or something like that. But we already had Io Shirai as champion, so I just feel like it's time for somebody else to come in to take the title off of her. But it's like limited, especially since we have Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. They're involved in the tag team titles and everything like that. It's like not a lot of people left to challenge Raquel Gonzalez, so they're kind of bit on a challenge with that one. Um, I did catch Bronson Reed versus Adam Cole. Bronson Reed, I hope he stays in NXT. Like I know, I have a feeling that they're waiting to pull the trigger to pull him up on the main roster because he has the look that they love for Raw and stuff like that. Um, but he Bronson Reed's doing awesome. Like he's one of those people that's good enough to not have a title on them. They're able to carry a feud and make it interesting without having a title involved. But we all know that this is, as far as Adam Cole, we all know this is kind of leading to him versus Samoa Joe. But I'm completely fine with this. Of course, Cole beat Bronson Reed right now by pinfall, but it was still a good match. It still put Bronson Reed over. Um, you know, Bronson Reed is just like he does things that he really shouldn't do at his size. Um, but he doesn't move around like a big guy, but he's still powerful as one. But overall, from what I've saw, NXT was a pretty good show. Now let's go to what happened on Wednesday with Fight for the Fallen. First off, Fight for the Fallen. It's something that they do every year. This year they normally support a charity. I think the first year that they did it, it was for gun violence. Then last year was for COVID or something like that. This year they announced that they donated $100,000 to a Safe Alliance, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing hope and healing for domestic violence and sexual assault survivors. And so they also had T-shirts where the proceeds will also go towards the nonprofit as well, which I love that. And not only they did that, but they also put on a pretty good show. I mean, it was a crazy episode. Um, where were they? I think they were in Charlotte on Wednesday. Crowd was pretty good. First of all, AEW was also brought to you by Space Jam New Legacy, even though they did nothing but show the original Space Jam references. Let's not talk about that. Um, the intro, first of all, they put on that 10-man tag match in the beginning, um, which was expected because we had the crazy death match at the end. But that intro with Hangman Page and the Dark Order, I loved it. I loved it. I loved the vignette, and then there was like the spotlight on the members of the Dark Order, and then you had Hangman Page walk out. Um, Hangman Page is right now is the best booking that AEW has done. When we first got Hangman Page versus Chris Jericho, um, the OG movie is the only movie according to the Elite. Yeah, but then, well, when they came out though, they mentioned Space Jam New Legacy, and I was like, well, you gotta mention it. But this was the Michael Jordan for movie that they kept doing, especially with the music and everything. I was like, I don't know if I don't know if Tony Khan understood the reference that it was a Space Jam promotion, that he kind of forgot of the new Space Jam, which I'm not mad at. I did see the new one. I wasn't really the biggest fan of it, but I will admit I am completely biased because I loved the first one. Loved the soundtrack, loved Michael Jordan, loved everything about it. Bill Murray, this the new one didn't even have Bill in it. No reference to Bill or anything like that. So that's where they lost right there with me. Um, but yeah, they came out with the basketballs and stuff like that, and they had the basketball court and everything like that. But that was a crazy match. I am surprised. I'm very surprised with the booking that Hangman Page didn't win, but I respect it because it kind of draws the fans in just a little bit more, to show Hangman Page as that underdog, to keep on working towards the to try to get the title shot. So obviously we know he's going to get the title shot a different way, and that the Dark Order is going to get the title shot a different way or something like that. Same here to all that. No build, no thrill. Exactly, South Philly Psycho. Psycho. No Bill reference or anything like that. I mean, we got the little part with Michael A. Jordan versus Michael B. Jordan type of situation, but I'm a LeBron hater anyway, and I admit that I am a LeBron hater. I'm also a Tom Brady hater as well. Tom Brady because he has the perfect life, and I'm a hate on that. He has the perfect hot supermodel wife. He has the perfect hair, stuff like that. He doesn't look a day over 30 or something like that. And then everywhere he goes, he wins. Except for when he goes against, unless he goes against Eli Manning, of course. But I'm a hater. And I hate on LeBron James because he will never be Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. So that's why I'm a hater of that. So that's all. So the new movie was automatically a check no in my book, and then I saw it, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely a no for me on this one. But yeah, it was just not really a respect to anything that happened, and the we might have just become best friends just now, or Nick Foles never forget 2017. Now I might break your heart here, okay? I am from Philly, but I am not an Eagles fan. I'm don't click off. Don't click off the podcast. But I am a football fan. I was very happy when Philly won the Super Bowl, because now the NFC East is the first division where all the teams have a title. But I felt bad for Carson Wentz, because I was like, Carson Wentz will never be good in Philly's eyes because of Nick Foles. I mean, the statue is still there. The Nick Foles statue is still there, and then the statue is still there, and Carson Wentz is going to go off to break someone else's heart. Um, but yeah, it was a crazy AEW Dynamite was a crazy episode, and I appreciate the that we're going to get a little bit of the long term booking with Hangman Page, where he's going to have to work a little bit harder in order for him to get the title, and I don't know where we're going to go from here, but I'm interested in it. Um, let's see what else happened. Um, and as far as with the main event with as far as with the main event with Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage, a lot of people were a bit upset as far as that it wasn't like a big wrestling match or anything like that. And people got to understand, matches like that, it's not meant to be 5 star. Like, I know that there are death matches out there that are pretty good, but when it comes to matches with the light bulbs and stuff like that, the most that I can do, the most that you can get is just gonna be gory. That's the whole point of those type of matches. It's not going to be 5 star. So no, I gave props to Chris Jericho for putting himself through that. No, Nick Gage is not going to be wrestling around like Daniel Bryan or Bret Hart or something like that. The whole point of that is to make it gory and bloody and make you, cringe at how much pain these two guys are going through. So definitely respect the fact that these two guys put themselves through this type of match. Um, Especially for those of us who don't really see a lot of death match, or what they call it, no rules match, but it was a death match basically. Um, Especially for people who don't really see that many of them, it's just like, open your eyes type situation type to it. Um, we also had FTR versus Santana and Ortiz as well, and that match, I hope that, um, oh my gosh, who was it that got injured? I hope he's okay, because they cut to him and you just see like a puddle of blood on the floor, on the ground, or something like that. I don't know. It was Cash. So I don't know how it happened or what happened or anything like that. And I didn't get a chance to really see if there was any updated news for it. But the match, of course, as you saw, had to be cut short because he was injured. And Cash Wheeler, okay, yeah, and the match had to be cut short, and it was a shame because it had a lot of promise for that. But it is what it is. I'm happy that they decided to cut it because of the injury. Sometimes some people be like, the show goes on and they continue it on. So I'm happy that they decided to cut it there, and so that Cash can get the treatment that he needed. And I'm sure his partner really wasn't interested in wrestling while his partner is sitting in a puddle of blood. And then after that comes a lot of drops of hints and stuff like that. Tony Schiavone comes out to announce that August 20th episode of Rampage will be called The First Dance, and it's going to take place in Chicago. Um, okay, the crowd immediately does the CM Punk chants, and I was like, okay, so we're doing this. And then they did and then there was a vignette of Darby Allin, and he said he will be in Chicago, and he says that he's been around a lot of men, and he said the best place to go against people is here in AEW, even if you think you're the best in the world. And I sat up. I was like, whoa, you don't see those type of words like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, Shane McMahon is coming, best in the world. But yeah, they were dropping hints like crazy, and I'm like, okay, so you're going to Chicago twice. You had Darby Allin, who CM Punk had mentioned by name, as far as who AEW should concentrate on and who he wants to go against, stuff like that. Mention that he will be in Chicago and he's willing to go against people even if you think you're the best in the world. And then other people were mentioning how there are wrestling moves that were being done that CM Punk does and stuff like that. And then MJF, when he cut the promo after the death match, he said the first two lines that CM Punk said during the pipe bomb promo, and I'm like, and I said, everybody, let's just stop. And then even Tony Khan, he's been asked about it, about CM Punk and Dan Bryan possibly signing, kept mentioning how he can't comment on it, which is the biggest "I have information, I just can't say anything about it" line ever. And it's just like, wow, guys, like they're really gonna do this. They're really gonna do this, and I'm happy for AEW because when CM Punk comes, it's gonna be a massive uptake in their views. When whether it, first of all, August 20th episode of Rampage is going to be huge because it's in Chicago. It's called The First Dance. And then All Out is going to be huge because it's in Chicago too. So I feel bad that this had leaked. If I could have sworn that it was someone in WWE who had leaked that he was possibly signed with AEW, but still it goes back to Tony Khan because if he was possibly signed, it came out of somebody else's mouth. And I wish that it was a complete surprise because I can't imagine how big of a pop, even though it'll still be a big pop, I can't imagine how big of a pop that would happen in the arena and on Twitter when CM Punk just pops up in AEW. Better, Yeah, Devin better get tickets. I expect a live feed on Twitter or Instagram or something or YouTube. Um, like I know it's going to be 5 million videos on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and like 15 different angles of CM Punk popping up, and I love it. I love it. I wish it was a surprise, but nowadays people don't know how to shut up and not say anything. Um, and especially when if Daniel Bryan's coming, but when he comes, that's going to be pretty good too. And safe to say, like, no, it's tough to be we'll host them live on one of our podcasts. Okay. It's gonna be I know I just said how WWE really doesn't have competition, but AEW is going to be on the map. Like, no, they're not going to be as like wildly successful as WWE is, but however, they can do they can do those numbers. I don't know about I think Raw has been hitting under 2 million. AEW has hit 1 million recently. But if they bring in CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, I think they're going to have to watch out for the views between surpassing Raw. And I forgot, I don't know how SmackDown is doing. And I know I said I don't talk about ratings stuff like that, but this is great if they get them two on there. Because if you get CM Punk and Daniel Bryan on there, all it's going to do is going to open up a lot of people who's going to be interested in feuding with them. Because people from New Japan, from Ring of Honor, Impact, or all the other promotions, you can't go against somebody in WWE. Like, you're going to have to get signed to WWE and hope that they will be okay with you going against the person. Whereas though in AEW, it's a lot of creative control. You can, if it sounds right, you can go against who you want to go against. Um, Now, not saying that, AEW is perfect or anything like that. I've said my issues with AEW plenty of times, but I love the fact that there is creative control over there. It feels like wrestlers who are there, they believe more in their character and their gimmicks. It's more relatable than versus someone with superpowers or something like that. Even though I know we had it's the Fiend and stuff like that, but I can relate. You can relate a lot to Hangman Page, for example, and being the underdog. Having a cool group of friends like the Dark Order or something like that. Wanting to sit there saying how being obnoxious with a group of friends like the Elite does, like it's much more relatable than it is. Britt Baker also had cut a promo too, and it sounds like she is going to get some type of backup because she keeps getting injured. She had a broken wrist, if I remember correctly. Um, Rebel has been injured as well, and so it sounds like she's bringing in people. I don't know why I thought of Ruby Riott because I heard a rumor that they're interested in bringing her in. You also have the Iconics in there as well. Yeah, Philly is an underdog town. Yes, definitely is. People always count us out, call us the little brother to New York and stuff like that. But whatever. You come here to eat our cheesesteaks. I've seen people try to recreate the cheesesteaks, and the answer is no. Okay, you have to come here to eat a cheesesteak. We have hoagies here. We have good pretzels. We have water ice as well. We have tasty cakes. Like, we have a lot of good things. Okay. All right, you guys love Will Smith. Like, where do you think he comes from? Y'all laugh at Kevin Hart. Where do you think he comes from? It's stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it feels like Britt Baker's about to bring somebody out as well. And I had a conversation. There's a group of podcasters with myself. We had a conversation about the issue with the women's division in AEW. And I said, AEW women's division is probably at the bottom of the list. Even though I feel like they have the talent, it's just like they just don't know how to use them because they're better. They're good with booking, the elite and tag teams and trios and stuff like that. And for what I have read and been told is that because it's coming from Ted Turner and that, and all them, that there's only going to be one women's wrestling match on AEW Dynamite, whereas but on Rampage they're expecting to have more women's matches. And I like that. That's all good and all stuff like that. They just have to do something with the women's division. And like I have said, I don't know if it's just like not trusting each other or it's the fact they don't really work with each other that well. But sometimes like the chemistry in the ring isn't like you see in NXT. So we had Thunder Rosa versus Julie Hart, and she spelled it just like the Hart Foundation, and I was like, okay, are you a relative or something like that? It doesn't seem like she is. And I thought it was very interesting that they would put her in the ring with someone like Thunder Rosa. She's only 19 years old, which I was very surprised about. And was she really good in the ring? No, but she's 19, so you can't really expect her to put out 5-star matches or anything like that. But she did hold her own. She did try to hold her own against Thunder Rosa and everything like that. Of course, it was supposed to be like a squash match, it seems like. But for them to only be able to put on one women's match, like that's the best that y'all can do, though. Like y'all can only do the squash match for Thunder Rosa. Like I would rather have Thunder Rosa like do what you guys do with the men's wrestling. Just put people together, just to put people together without really that much of storyline or anything like that. But it just feels like, there's like maybe not enough trust or not enough chemistry or practice or something like that with the women. There's just a lot of their matches are disjointed. So South Philly Psycho says, I miss Philly pretzels. Yeah, Philly pretzels is still the best here. Where everyone thinks their freedom comes from. Exactly. Like the original capital of America was Philadelphia. Where you think that, like, you learn this in school, ladies and gentlemen. There wouldn't be no independence without the signing of the Declaration of Independence in Philly. So, give us respect. You know what I mean? Just give us a little bit of respect. Um, we also had the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. Lance Archer versus Hakuleo. I hope I pronounced that right. With King Haku, which I popped at that too, that he had came out, and he even attacked Lance Archer as well. Um, so that was I first of all, I love Lance Archer. I think he is so good in the ring. And I appreciate the fact what I like about AEW is that they're very open to other promotions and they're giving us things that we haven't really seen. Like I know New Japan wanted to come to the US, but it's very difficult because we're on like two completely different time zones. Once they're in the daytime, we're at the nighttime type of situation. So I love the fact that we're getting this championship title in AEW, and it's introducing a lot of fans such as myself to people from New Japan. Because I know names, I know some names, but I never seen matches. Like I knew of AJ Styles, but I didn't watch AJ Styles matches until I heard of him probably like a year before he came to WWE. And I never heard of Shinsuke Nakamura. I know, don't make me turn in my wrestling fan card. But when I heard about him when he announced he was coming to take over, to go against Sami Zayn. I had looked him up and I watched the Wrestle Kingdom match that he had, and I was like, this is awesome. And so I really appreciate that AEW is introducing different people to us. And so with this match, I think Hikuleo, they said he only wrestled for professionally for 5 years, I think it was. Um but he was pretty good. I mean you could tell that he hasn't been wrestling for that long, but he still was holding his own on top of that. Um and then the crazy backstage. So they decided to interview Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes got like 4 words out, and the next thing you know, you just see a boot to the face, and I love that part. First of all, I love the fact that it's more realistic. That when you see like it's more on the it's on site type of mindset. If you tell someone, "I'm gonna beat your ass on site," like they shouldn't be able to put out a full promo before you suddenly come out and attack them. So I love the fact that Cody Rhodes, as soon as Cody Rhodes said 4 words and Malachi found where he was, foot to the face. Like, don't wait for them to answer 5 questions and then attack them. So yeah, immediately he started attacking Cody Rhodes. Of course, Cody Rhodes wearing all white. Malachi Black is wearing all black. Whatever. And they went out into the stage area. They kept on fighting. More people came out to separate them too. And then I don't know who was the lucha that Feudal del Sol it was, who took the black mass to the face. But oh my gosh, I popped for that cell because he looked like he was knocked out. I mean, he went to La La Land the way he took that kick and fell to the ground. Um, but I'm loving this feud between these two. I just hope Cody Rhodes don't pull Homelander Triple H move and beat Malachi Black. I hope Malachi Black just takes Cody Rhodes out. I think we're close to Brandy Rhodes giving birth, so I hope Malachi beat Cody Rhodes up real bad, take him out, let Cody Rhodes spend time with family, and just let Malachi Black just let him go off. Just let him go off. But my goodness, the it felt more genuine to get caught mid for it was it was, and that's why, and I hate it when WWE they do it, and you can tell when the attack is coming, because they're towards the end of, oh yeah, they did have the baby already. I think they did have the baby already. Yep. Cody Rhodes should just take off just to spend time with the family. Okay, just let Malachi Black just do a couple of black masks to you, and I just feel like that match is going to be brutal. I hope it's brutal, not to blood or anything like that, but black mass a couple of times to make sure that Cody Rhodes, aka Homelander, stays down. I will be so upset if Cody Rhodes win this feud. And I know he's been taking losses and stuff like that, but as far as with feuds, he really hasn't had a really big loss since Brody Lee. And I hope he takes a big loss here. Um, so yeah, let me get back to the main event, the Painmaker, Chris Jericho versus the King of Deathmatch, Nick Gage. Like I said, I didn't expect for this to be like a 5-star match. I expected this to be nothing but, light bulbs and, well, I didn't expect glass, but, glass chairs, uh, Kindle sticks, tables, chairs. Like, I expected it to be bloody because they still blade themselves in AEW. I saw when John Moxley clearly did it, and a couple other people clearly did it. And people were very upset that it wasn't like a 5-star match. They mentioned how Nick Gage wasn't really that good. And I'm like, well, Nick Gage, all he does is deliver pain and take pain. So you really shouldn't. I really didn't expect it to be. I didn't expect Gage to sit there and put on Bret Hart type of, the technique and move set or something like that. Like all the guy, like they mentioned how the guy was dead for 8 minutes. Like, I really don't expect someone who was dead for 8 minutes, was resuscitated, and then immediately wanted to get back in the match. I don't expect a guy like that to have technical, to put on 5-star matches. Okay, I obviously that type of person just wants to pretty much. I mean, they said he cut someone. Uh, the pizza. Yeah. First of all, you got to give props to AEW sometimes with some of the things that they did. First of all, they kept showing Nick Gage with the pizza cutter. He did the pizza cutter to Chris Jericho, and then they went to the picture in picture, and it was a pizza commercial. The timing of that, the timing of that was excelente. Like, they should have, like, that whole match should have been brought to you by Pizza Hut. That's where they should have went. Instead of, Space Jam, New Legacy, whatever. No, throw that away. You didn't even, LeBron James didn't even shout you guys out or anything. You guys didn't even get a shout out or anything. You guys should have said, this match has been brought to you by Pizza Hut. And Nick Gage just pulls out the pizza cutter and and says nobody out pizzas the Hut. Perfect. Ching ching, take that check to the bank real quick. Um, the only thing I had an issue with the main event was that the ending felt very rushed. We had the spot with the double light tubes and everything that he hit over. They was going to hit over Chris Jericho with. Chris Jericho was able to counter. He hit Nick Gage with it, and then he hit the Judas effect and then pin 1, 2, 3. And I felt as though that was a bit rushed. I don't know. I felt as though I know I'm gonna sound like a crazy person, but I felt as though it should have been a bigger spot that would have like led up to it, instead of the double light tubes or something. Like maybe the glass part should have been what does it, and then he goes and hit the Judas effect, and then 1, 2, 3. But that match was crazy. First of all, yeah, Chris Jericho losing, like Chris Jericho could have donated a hell of a lot of blood to Red Cross or something like that, from all that he was losing. And MJF, he's upset, of course. He gets on the mic and he mentions how Chris Jericho had made a comment, and he went and Googled him, and he mentioned how labor number 3, he has to hit a move from the top rope to win. And I was like, well, that's a weird stipulation. Like, I know Chris Jericho isn't known for jumping off the top rope like that, but that's a bit of a weird stipulation. And then he mentioned how the challenger is Juventud Guerrera. So this is where my knowledge of wrestling kind of stops, because like I said, I didn't watch WCW like that. I do know the name. I didn't watch his matches or anything like that, so I'm definitely going to check it out probably this weekend and check out a couple of his matches. Everybody went crazy and stuff like that. Um, and so I kind of read up a little bit about it, the history between him and Jericho. I saw he was a luchador, and then he lost his mask. So it was Chris Jericho who actually took the mask from him, and so they had a very long rivalry in WCW, and so now we are going to get this back. So very interesting that we're going through all these labors. People were sitting there talking about labor number 4 and stuff like that. People were making comments of, I saw Fandango. I forgot who else people were mentioning. But it really feels like some type of farewell tour or something like that with Chris Jericho. That he's put himself through these type of matches, stuff like that, and going against old rivals and things like that. Or could be the fact that he didn't really get to go against a lot of different people when he was in WWE, and so now that he's in AEW and have these opportunities, that he has the opportunity to go against his former rival. He has the opportunity to go against Nick Gage, stuff like that. So I'm here for the ride. I'm gonna check out who to check out his match and stuff like that. From the little bit I've seen, it seems like he was one of the cruiserweights and stuff like that, and he was a luchador. So I probably would really love the matches and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, that was a very 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 interesting match of AEW Dynamite. Um, so yeah, so next week, well, we have another interesting SmackDown coming up tomorrow. I think we're gonna have Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we're gonna have a lot more. Just avoid the Maxi Cool stuff in WWE. Oh, he was in WWE. Oh, okay. I see. I know there's a lot of people who were in WWE, but they weren't really, either they weren't under their actually original name, or they just really didn't do anything. But I'm going to check him out in WCW. I'm not going to check out anything in WWE. The WWE only cared about cruiserweights when they got them from WCW. Because if you check out, did an episode around Halloween Havoc last year where I decided to check out episodes from WCW's Halloween Havoc, and I had asked Twitter who give me like the best Halloween Havoc matches and stuff like that. And a lot of people mentioned Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, who I knew was in WCW, but I missed that. So I got to check out I checked out that match, and I literally sat there and I felt so bad because I was like, I was such a WWE person and that I didn't check out WCW like that. And I mentioned on air too, and I said, had I known about this and I had like went and watched this match between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, I probably would have watched more WCW. He came out on Lawnmower with two other luchadors. It was trash. That's crazy. I probably remember seeing that too. Because there was a time period where WWE had luchadors and stuff like that, but they really didn't know what to do with them. Um, and I probably seen it. So, but I have love for luchadors. I sometimes watch AAA. I watched some of Lucha Underground too. Um, but when they started to do a lot more partnership with AEW, I checked that out a lot more. But yeah, I do have the idea of checking out more classic episodes of WCW. I watched WWE, but when they went to commercial, I would switch to WCW. I used to sometimes do that. That's why I said I know Bash of the Beach and NWO and when Dennis Rodman was with them and stuff like that. Like I had knowledge of what was going on in WCW and seeing some of it. Like I always loved their stages in WCW. Like they would go all out for their stages. But I just felt like I was betraying WWE. And so I really wouldn't watch it for too long. But had I known what they had over there, I definitely would have watched a lot more. Especially the fact that a lot of people's favorite wrestlers came from WCW. Oh, you saw Judy versus Ray at the ECW arena in '96. That was awesome. And that's another like, and I feel really bad because I am from Philly. Like I had pride in ECW, but I didn't watch everything of ECW. And so, but I went to the ECW arena when House of Hardcore went there, and I got a picture with IRS, and that's when and House of Hardcore is what introduced me to the Young Bucks. They wrestled at the event at ECW arena too. Um, but yeah, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I have the idea of checking out classic episodes of WCW, even ECW. I watched ECW back in the day, but I didn't watch a lot of it. Like I was also like feeling like I was betraying WWE at the time, so I didn't check out all of ECW. So I didn't check out any of their pay per views like that or anything like that. I would catch like the weekly shows and stuff. And so I have the idea, especially to work with the YouTube channel, to show videos of me reacting to a lot of the classic matches from WCW and ECW, maybe even New Japan and stuff like that. Um, because I rarely watch New Japan. Just to kind of give like a unique perspective of someone who watched WWE for like decades and like have had no clue that there was anything else going on outside WWE. But that's keep a lookout for that as well. But that's it for the WrestleBread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Shout out to South Philly Psycho and Devin for keeping in the chat with me during this live episode. Um, Coming up next week, we have SummerSlam coming. We're going to have a lot going on Monday with Raw in Chicago. I'm sure there is probably, since DraftKings love doing bets on WWE, they should have a bet going on how many times the arena will be chanting CM Punk. We also going to catch whatever is going to happen on Smackdown. We have the aftermath of Fight for the Fallen on AEW Dynamite. We have the first NXT live of Samoa Joe on the roster as well. We're going to see the lead up to that. And what's Karrion Kross going to do on Raw next week? So, very interesting stuff as well. Be sure to hop on Twitter and follow me at JDC137. That's JAYDEEC137. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at WrestleBread. You can also find the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, which I'm going to be working a lot more as far as doing actual videos instead of just the audio episodes. And be sure to leave a review. Let me know your thoughts as well. I'm also going to be starting a Twitch channel. It's a bit of a self promotion. I like playing video games, and now I'm work from home, so I don't interact with I don't interact with humans as much as I used to, and I have a little bit more time on my hands than I used to. So I figure let me just play some video games and interact with a lot of people. So be on the lookout for that as well. I'm not doing anything not doing anything less with the podcast. Of course, podcast comes first. Yes, I'm going to start doing video stuff. Because I feel bad because I have a YouTube channel, and if you go to the YouTube channel, you just see the black screen with the logo and everything like that, and it's just me on the screen. And since if you've been with the podcast for a while, I've been having a lot of issues with computers and stuff like that, and now I got a spiffy new gaming computer. I have a spiffy new monitor and stuff like that. And I always mention if I get like a PlayStation 5 or something like that, I was like, well, you can't have a nice computer and then the up to date system and just not like do anything about that. So I figured, I was like, well, I can start doing a Twitch channel too, because I like interacting with people and playing video games as well. And I was like, well, I have a camera, so I have an official camera. It's not going to be on cell phone or anything like that, so I can start doing like reactions and things like that. Especially now, I'm getting into like now that I'm learning more of technology. I know I sound like very old right now, but now I'm seeing that I can finally be able to mute background noise on my mic and stuff like that. Definitely future collabs, Devin and South Philly Psycho. I'm free to be a guest on other podcasts. Right now, I'm still doing solo shows right now. I am open to it in the future, but just right now, I'm still doing solo shows. I Let me be honest with you guys. I do my podcast in my living room because not that much space in my house. And so sometimes I get a little person who decides to come downstairs and drink water or something like that. So that's why I'm not thinking about doing that's why I'm not having people on my show, but I'm willing to go on other people's show. Definitely a future guest host on Top Rope. Yeah. I'm open to a lot of things. So it's a lot of cool people out there. Let me give some shout outs. Shout out to Julian Rob Bass from Wrestling Court Podcast and TurningMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris and Keita from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando Larry from Half K Podcast, Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling, and shout out to Top Rope Wrestling as well too. I try to listen to different podcasts while I'm working and stuff like that. And so yeah, or you have dogs on your show. Well, luckily my cat isn't down here. Normally this time of night she starts acting crazy and starts like running back and forth. You can hear her in the background. But now that I know a way to like take out the background noise, you probably won't hear her. She'll probably be on the Twitch because she likes to lay on my desk next to me. So you probably will see her out on there. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Let me know your thoughts, your views. Let me know what type of things you want me to check out and do live reaction to as well. And until next time, guys, peace.